To all who listen to this happy pod, welcome. My name is Noah Parker, and welcome to DCOM Kids. I'm joined today by, of course, the co-host, Marci.
Hello. It's our first weekly episode.
Yes. I'm very excited to actually be into like weekly streaming for this one, because this has like been, I think, the goal like basically the whole time.
Yeah.
And now we are doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means we're going to get through them a lot faster.
Hopefully.
I think we did 10 before the season break, and there's 120 DCOMs.
Okay.
So it was going to take us years, 10 years plus to get through them all. So happy to be getting through them faster. So first of all, Marci, I just want to ask, this is the first back since break.
Back.
It's been over a month since we've recorded together. So how are you doing? How's life?
It's not too bad.
Life is lifing.
Life is lifing. Something happened about a month ago. Wait, not that long ago. It was 10 days ago. But besides that, life's good. Life's good.
Good to hear. I am learning to live switch as we go. I've been doing this kind of thing for years. But I'm like over 10 years.
But you're never.
But I've never been the person
in front of the camera and behind the camera at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a little bit tricky to get used to. But I think we're there. And while we are like kind of settling in, would you do me a favor and turn that camera for me about like, I don't know, like a little bit this way? Because there you go. There we go.
Is that good?
Yeah. I thought I had it set nicely, and then I sat down and started going, and I clicked the transition button, and I was suddenly, this is not working. This is not good.
This is not correct.
So first of all, second of all, we have two people watching live with us right now, and I don't think that's me. It could be, one of them could be me. One of them might be my wife. I don't think I'm both of them. I think one is like Adriana, and I think one is an actual person watching. So thank you for watching. Yeah. Hopefully you're enjoying so far. We are watching Rip Girls. So if you haven't watched it already, just stick with us. We're going to talk about it. And then after we're done, I'm already on one. I don't know what this thing is doing, but that's okay. After we are done, then you can go watch Rip Girls and tell us what you thought about it. So without any further ado, Marci, I think we should go. And I don't have that either. You're right. It's not showing up, the cast. So I'll let you read off the cast since you got it pulled up.
All right.
But so we rewatched Rip Girls. It was released in 2000. Yes. The writer, do you have the writer over there? Because is it different than what I wrote down?
No. I was just saying it's pronounced.
Oh.
Do you want me to read it?
It was pronounced how?
It's pronounced Jean.
Jean, okay. Because when I read that, my brain went Jean.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not right. It was just Jean Rosenberg.
Yes.
Was the writer for this. And then Marci's going to take away the cast because for some reason the thing didn't work. And I don't have it.
For some reason the photo isn't showing up.
So here we go.
Okay, so playing Sydney Miller. Oh, I misspelled it. Anyway, Sydney Miller is...
I got to figure out how to not have my computer screen show up when I put it on your camera. I see. Because there you're getting like triple, quadruple Marci over here, like down in the corner. So, it's fine.
You don't need to see me that many times. Okay, anyway. Camila Bell played Sydney Miller. Dwyer Brown played Ben Miller, her dad. Stacey Hess played Gia. Brian Stark played Kona. Oh, there's another Jean in here. Jean Morey played Malia, which is Gia's mom.
Yes.
Lauren Sinclair played Elizabeth Miller. Keon Young played Bo. Tell me when to stop.
Whenever there stops being names for characters was when I was going to stop.
Kanoa Chung played Kai. Meliana White played Melee. And Joy Megelson played Lene.
Excellent. Good stuff. The movie was directed by Joyce Chopra. Music was by Phil Marshall. Cinematography by David Egby, which is probably one of the coolest last names I've read here.
It's pretty chill.
And it was edited by Paul Lamastra.
I like that. La Mastra.
La Mastra. Yes, indeed. So yeah. I'll read the summary too, the short summary that we get from Disney Plus. I decided to start including that, the Disney Plus summary. Yeah. And I found out if you go into, like, if you just pull up the video or the movie, it gives you like that like one sentence version.
Right.
If you click on like details, I think it gives you a longer one. Thing. So that's what this is. This is pulled directly from Disney Plus, y'all. Okay. So here we go. Summary. Back to the homeland of Hawaii for the first time since she was a young child, 13-year-old Sydney Miller learns she has inherited a large portion of land. But with the terms of the testament, Sydney is required to stay on the island for 2 weeks, despite her quick decision to sell to a major developer. Oh, despite her quick decision to sell to a major developer. Period. After discovering her love for surfing and getting to know her family, Sydney questions her initial decision and discovers a deeper appreciation for the island she has inherited. And now Marci has taken the time to write us out basically scene by scene, like quick boom, boom, boom. This is saving us from spending 6 hours talking about these movies.
Yes, this does save us some time.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And she has also included some like pronunciations, and I greatly appreciate it. So so go ahead, Marci.
All right. We start with a beautiful view of Hawaii through an airplane window as we meet the Millers, Ben, Elizabeth, and Sydney. Sydney is a 13-year-old girl who was born in Hawaii and moved away at a young age after the death of her mother, whom she barely remembers.
When the Millers arrive, they meet attorney Bo Kawa'ihau. Thank you, Kawa'ihau, who informs them that Sydney will inherit a plantation known as Mackay from her great aunt if she stays there for 2 weeks.
Bo attempts to dissuade Sydney's parents from selling the plantation, stating that the ground is still fertile
either way,
fertile enough for use as farmland, although Ben is hesitant as he and Elizabeth have no farm experience.
Although Bo wants to preserve the plantation, he informs the Millers that there have been inquiries about purchasing the property. At the plantation, Sydney finds an old photograph of her mother and learns that she used to surf. The next day, Sydney finds a surfboard with the word Nani Loa inscribed on it and in a nearly abandoned barn. Then befriends a girl named Gia who enjoys surfing.
That night, Sydney tells her parents that she wants to spend time with Gia at a beach on the following day. Ben is apprehensive about Sydney going to the beach alone, but allows her to do so when she promises to just take pictures without going near the water. While Ben and Elizabeth and Bo meet with realtors, Sydney arrives at the beach with the Mauna Loa surfboard. Sydney is introduced to Gia's friends, including Kona, a boy who is an artist and skateboarder. Sydney confesses that she doesn't know how to surf, so Gia teaches her.
Later, Bo and the Millers meet with the realtors to discuss a company's plan to construct a resort on the plantation's property. Sydney is disappointed that the plan did not include the preservation of the plantation buildings, which were built in 1912. The realtors suggest that the main plantation house could be converted into a restaurant. They also tell Sydney that everything is negotiable after she expresses disappointment at the company's plan to make the nearby beach available to hotel guests only.
While surfing, Sydney is swept off her surfboard and rescued by Kona. Sydney has a cut on her face and later awakens in a beach house belonging to Gia's mother, Malia, who has bandaged her cut. Malia tells Sydney that the Nani Loa surfboard belonged to Sydney's mother, who was nicknamed Nani Loa. Malia also says that she was friends with Sydney's mother. Malia is surprised to learn that Ben never mentioned the friendship.
Malia then takes Sydney to a lagoon to observe its beauty. Malia tells her that it is a place where whales gather annually. Malia brings Sydney back to the plantation, and Ben becomes upset at Malia, believing that she encouraged Sydney to surf. Malia questions Ben's decision to withhold information from Sydney regarding her mother. He tells Malia that he was trying to keep Sydney away from Hawaii and surfing in order to protect her, an idea with which Malia disagrees.
The next day, Sydney learns from Gia that her mother died in an accident. Sydney says her father has never discussed her mother's death, and she has never asked him about it. Sydney has Kona and Gia take her to Ka'ala Loa, a vacant plantation where she discovers her mother's old bedroom.
The Millers receive a new monetary offer from Mackay, and Sydney is left to choose whether to accept it or not. That night, a party is held at Kalaloa, where Sydney and Kona share a kiss. While observing the whales, Sydney learns from Malia that her mother died while surfing.
Gia's friends ignore Sydney after a newspaper article states that the plantation and beach will be sold to the company, even though she has not yet made a decision. When Sydney tells Gia that the company has promised to preserve the lagoon for the whales, Gia tells her that the animals will no longer arrive with tourists around.
Gia admits that initially she only befriended Sydney so that she could convince her to keep the plantation and beach, but she says that her friendship is authentic, which Sydney does not believe. After arguing, Sydney decides to sell the property. When Sydney is ready to sign the paperwork, she notices Gia's friends outside and decides not to sell, choosing instead to live at Mackay.
Sydney returns to the beach to tell Gia the good news, but sees her surfboard floating alone on the tides. Sydney rescues Gia from the waves and returns on land to tell her that she's decided to not sell Mackay. Sydney and Gia become friends once again.
And then the story wraps up, and it's all good and dandy. Yes. And I'm pretty sure they use the exact same music in this movie that they did in Johnny Tsunami.
Oh, probably. I mean,
like almost verbatim. Like I'm like, that sounds like the exact same one. But
do you want to know a fun fact about Rip Girls, though?
I would love to hear a fun fact about Rip Girls.
It was actually filmed solely in Australia.
Interesting. Okay.
Queensland in Australia is where it was.
I don't know
where it was filmed.
It's related or not, but there was a moment where where she when she wants to go to the plantation, she wants to go to that plantation house, and Kai says, "How's your writing?" Yes. The way he says it, I'm like, that sounded like super Australian.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, "How's your riding?" I'm like, was that Australian?
Yeah. Because
that's so funny.
I was trying to look up like how to pronounce Mackay and all the Hawaiian words, and I was like, just out of curiosity, which island was it filmed on? And it said Queensland, Australia. That's
wild. That's super cool. Yeah. Thanks for getting a fun fact in there for us.
Fun fact for you.
Yeah. So we have been live now for a mere 17 minutes. So
this goes by faster.
This is where the problem comes in, I think. The way that we have started doing it is that, like, now, yes, we get through the movie much, much faster. Yes. But we almost get through it too fast. But that's okay. Fast. Because we can make up for it in our next segment, which I call... What's your favorite scene? I don't know why I decided to do a jingle. Maybe
you'll have
shouldn't
to cut
have.
That
was a questionable decision.
Pop it in every time.
Oh, somebody's dropping $100 bills. I wish they were dropping actual $100 bills, but maybe someday. It's okay. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love, guys. I'm doing my best here. Okay, so favorite scenes. Don't read mine. Pick your own.
I won't read yours.
Like you haven't already. What is your favorite scene?
Honestly, when she first finds her mom's picture.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
Like when she's just flipping through, she's like, look at all these pictures. And then she sees it and she's like, is that mom?
Yeah.
Because she has zero memory of her.
Well, I mean, it's like a whole page dedicated to her mom, right? Yeah. I'm like, this girl was popular.
Yeah.
Especially with that yearbook that was basically just a magazine, like the ones we used to get from Summit. There's like 7 people in the class kind of thing.
Right. I did graduate with 3 other students. Woo! But yeah. And like just the look on her dad's face when he sees it, he's like, yep, that's the woman that I loved. Like, it's so sad.
Honestly, it is. Yeah. I had another favorite scene. I forgot to write it down though, but I have like 3, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is less of my favorite scene and more just a notable scene, I guess, realistically. And it was when Malia and Ben are arguing about like
the safety
whether or
of
not Sydney should know about her mom and stuff, whether she should have known and all that stuff. And I'm like, is this like literally an alternate line from Johnny Tsunami? Like,
right?
It felt very Johnny Tsunami at that moment to me.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie was very much its own thing, but like it was also kind of like really similar to Johnny Tsunami. Yeah. Kid really wants to surf. Dad really doesn't want kid to surf.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Chaos ensues. And
kid surfs anyway, kid gets hurt. Or someone gets hurt.
And I believe they moved from Chicago to Mackay.
I couldn't remember where they were from. I can't remember if
it was Chicago or not, but
no, was it Chicago? Yeah, I think it was, because she says something about there not being much surfing in Lake Michigan.
Yes, there's not much surf in Lake Michigan.
That's what she says. Yeah.
So
got to be from over there somewhere.
Nearby.
Somewhere in that area. Yeah. Probably Chicago, because Disney's not the kind of person to be like, this character's from Longmont, Colorado.
Right? Wouldn't that be
small
awesome,
town that 2 people know of?
That would be so cool.
It would be so cool.
We are popping off now, though. So
hey, I'm just saying they might join us one day and be like, hey, what if we like make a DCOM where you guys are the stars? And I'm like, that'd be super cool. Thanks.
I would have to be an old person in it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't be the kids anymore.
We can't be the kids anymore.
We have to be the parents now.
Although there have been 30-year-olds who play 16-year-olds, so
maybe they cast us to be.
I think I could pull it off.
Maybe they cast us to be. I need to go to this screen. Okay. Maybe they cast us to be the adult versions of kids.
Oh.
Like Poof Point style kind of thing, where we're the adults.
Yeah.
But then like.
Something happens
and we turn into kids. And then like we're only in the beginning of the movie and the very end of the movie, but we're in it.
I'll take that.
Maybe we make our own DCOM.
Our own DCOM.
Yes. You know, like people will be like, oh, I'm gonna make a Hallmark movie, where they like take the inspiration from Hallmark movies. We should maybe that's a big like summer project in a couple years. We're like, let's take inspiration from DCOMs and let's make our own DCOM. Obviously, it won't be a DCOM because it's not Disney Channel, but
it'll be
semantics.
RCOM.
Yeah, an USCOM. That doesn't sound right.
No.
I don't know.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
another favorite scene of mine.
Yes.
Was the luau scene because
I loved that scene.
That was it was so good, and my favorite part is when the elder is telling the kids the story about the guy. And then
and she's speaking there.
She's speaking Hawaiian and Kona's translating. It. Yeah. And then at the end of that's when they end up smooching. And I'm like, I totally saw that coming. This is probably the earliest smooch we've ever got between 2 characters in the DCOM.
It's the only smooch you get.
We get smooched in this movie, yes. Yeah. We get smooches. We got smooches all the time. Probably until about 2010, I'm going to say.
Maybe.
We'll get smooches in Disney movies. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they won't.
Then all of a sudden they're like, that's not appropriate.
What would you? I guess that would be most impactful scene. That's like supposed to be the next part, but
I mean,
I don't know. There's other impactful scenes.
I got a question for you later, but
okay,
we'll get to that.
Do you have another favorite scene?
Another favorite scene when they go to the semi-abandoned property, and they're like they steal Kona's hat and they're like chasing him around. I was like, oh, that's so cute. And then she sees her mom's room, and I was like, oh.
Well,
it's just like a heartfelt moment altogether.
It is. That was a super cute moment, and I'm like, I like how she's like goofing around, and then she pops through the door and sees it, and then it's like ESP. She's like,
hard stop. Yeah.
My mom's room. Yeah. This was my mom's room, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. She's like, this was her room.
Yeah. But then she, at first I was like, what is this ESP crap you're doing? And then she's like, I think I remember her showing it to me. I'm like, okay.
She's like, she showed it to me one time.
I'll give you that. Then.
My assumption is she was like 2 or 3.
That's what I was thinking too.
When
they never actually say how old she was.
They just say she was really young.
It would have to be in that area because any older than 3, I think she would actually remember her mom. Yeah. And she like doesn't really at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. My other favorite moment is when she takes the picture of her mom and puts it into her computer, and then she like puts a picture of herself and like That was just so sweet. She's like, oh, if me and mom were together, but like they look the same age in those pictures.
It was very sweet, but I was like,
that's not how photo editing works.
I'm like, you can barely do that now.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, removing a background, putting two people in one picture, that's been a thing for ages.
Right.
Enlarging a picture, technically, yes, you've always been able to do that too. Not always, but for quite some time. But it's the enhance button that she pushed that I was like, oh, come on.
Enhance, repair. And you're like,
magic. Don't get me wrong.
It's a little far-fetched, but
you can repair photos in Photoshop, but like not really.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually repairing it. What you're doing is like basically making assumptions of what's supposed to be there and filling it in.
Yeah.
Because you cannot physically make data exist that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
And if there's a big crack in the middle of a photograph where there's no information, you can't bring it back.
Right.
So you're making assumptions and guesses on how to repair it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've spoken my piece about that. It made me so mad. Not mad, but I'm just like, I love these.
Not how that works.
I love all the movies that do that. They're like enhance.
Yeah.
Zooming in on an ant with a CCTV camera on an ant, and you click enhance, and suddenly you can see all of its individual eyes.
Yeah. Ugh, that's so creepy.
So dumb. I'm like, that's not a thing, guys.
Yeah.
Well, it might be, but not.
Yeah. Okay.
Not in the public.
I'm gonna ask you this before we get to most impactful scene.
Hit it up.
How did you feel about the whales?
I was excited to see how they did the whales, and then they showed the whales, and I was like, I think I could do the whales better.
It looked like a projection of whales on the ocean.
Yeah. Pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
And that's coming from somebody who doesn't know anything about, like, when we were talking about Alley Cat Strike, and you're like, they use CGI at the end. I was like, did they?
Yeah.
Wow. But this one,
there seems to always be that one scene in a DCOM where they just used the CGI. You can tell they didn't want to, but they had no choice, and like, so you got what you got.
How were they gonna film whales jumping out of the ocean at night?
I would have just filmed a whale jumping out of the ocean at night.
But how can they time that?
It's not about time. I guess that's where the budget comes in, because if that's the shot you wanted, you go sit on a dinghy for 8 days if you got to. You get the shot.
Yeah, they didn't have.
It's
time.
not my budget. It's okay. Yeah. It was pretty gross.
That was my question for you.
Fair enough. So that was good. Okay, so you have a question for? Oh no, that was the question. We are moving on now to most impactful scenes. Let's see, what do I think is the most impactful scene, or like one of the ones that impacted me most, where I was like, okay, because like low-key when you're watching a DCOM, sometimes you're like not really paying attention, and then you go, oh, what?
yeah It's like the second time watching through,
and for me that was the moment when she goes to talk to Gia to tell her that, like, she's like, oh, I heard you stuck up for me because everyone heard that I was selling it, but you knew I didn't actually make a decision yet, and you stuck up for me. Yeah. And then they go back and forth, and they find that it's like, you were just pretending to be my friend because you wanted me to save the island, huh? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wait, I didn't even think about that. Right. And then I got confused, and I was like, was there a moment in the movie where, like, somebody brought that up to her? Did she just, like, randomly come up with that theory on the spot right there?
It was...
Like, did I miss something?
It was the way that she ran into her on the first day that she was there, that she, like, put two and two together. She was like, that actually wasn't, like, a natural way to meet somebody. Like, that felt planned.
But it was only when she was there talking to her that she came up with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because she was like, wait, the day that we met, was that planned? Did you plan to meet me that day? Because it's a small island. They know everything. So they knew when their flight was getting in. They knew that they were arriving. There's like 2 planes that probably fly into that island every year. Right. And like, it sounded like Malia and Bo were close, Right. So it was probably, and she's like, my mom told me to. And then she's like, but I really like you. Like, it wasn't a coincidence that we met, but like, I actually like you and I want to be your friend.
Right.
And so, like, when she went off the hand, she was like, how am I so stupid to not realize that you planned to meet me?
Right. And then from then on, it's like, you can tell me that it was all genuine, but like, how am I supposed to believe you? How am I supposed to believe you? Yeah. So it's like,
so
kind of sad, but
yeah.
But it was good.
It was good. Like, it was like that. What's the word I'm looking for?
I haven't an idea. Oh
gosh.
Gosh, golly darn
we're
dang.
Live streaming, so I'm all flustered.
What's great is if we weren't live streaming, I still wouldn't bother cutting this out.
Yeah, this would just be anyway. I lost my train of thought entirely when I forgot the word.
We're just talking about like them meeting.
Yeah.
Like, how do you believe her?
Okay, so it was like the breaking point.
Yeah, okay.
So that you could have that heart to heart later.
Yeah.
Every movie has it.
Well, yeah.
You know, they have to.
But this one was actually not really between. I mean, I guess her and her dad had a heart to heart too.
They
did.
Not really. But not really.
Like, he kind of just said, like, this is how your mom died.
He's like, yeah.
And
he was like,
basically, if you want to decide to live here still, then
that's okay.
We'll make it work.
Yeah. I think the real heart to heart was between her and Malia first.
Yeah.
And then her and Gia at the end.
Yeah.
Those were the most impactful heart to hearts, I will say.
There you go, the most impactful moments. Yay! I was gonna ask you what they were. Those are definitely the most impactful moments in the movie for Shizzle. Yeah. Yeah. Coolio. Okay, well, let me see where we're at now. 31 minutes. Yeah, we're definitely short. We're definitely shorter than we have been, but 30 minutes sounds pretty comfortable. We just have to drag on for another 5 minutes because
we can do that.
There's a 5-minute countdown at the beginning, so it's not actually 35 minutes. We've only actually been 26 minutes. So.
We can talk about anything.
We can. But I think we should hit our last couple things. I think we can spread at least these things will hit it. So the test of time, we talk about this with every DCOM. Yes. The question is, how did it hold up? This came out in 2000. It's now been 24 years since this movie came out.
That makes me feel so old.
I mean, it's only just
put in numbers
like that. Right.
24 years.
I will say, first of all, this is probably the first one where I'm like, didn't remember any of this.
Oh, really?
I think I've watched the movie once before today. Oh. And I didn't remember most of it.
I remembered this one pretty well. Pretty good. There were a few moments that I'd forgotten. Because I think what happened for me is I was getting Rip Girls and Soul Surfer mixed up.
Oh, okay.
For some of the scenes, like the surfing scenes specifically.
Sure.
Like when...
Wait a second. Oh, you know what? I think I did the same thing because in Soul Surfer, she's like, is there a point in Soul Surfer where they're like getting photographed for a magazine?
Yes.
That's why. Okay, because I was literally like, where's the part where they're like about where's the magazine thing come in here?
Yeah.
That's super annoying.
Soul Surfer.
Okay. So I actually did not remember this movie like at all.
At all. You remembered Soul Surfer.
I remember Soul Surfer. I really like Soul Surfer.
I love that movie too.
Yeah.
But where was I going with this? Oh,
sorry.
No, you're good. Because I mixed up like the scene when Bethany Hamilton in Soul Surfer is in Africa. Where is she?
Haiti.
Haiti, and she's teaching the kids how to surf.
Yeah.
I got that scene mixed up when they're teaching Sydney how to surf.
Yeah.
And I was
so because in Soul Surfer she like tells them to dig their hands into the sand, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have her like dig her hands in the sand. They were just like brushing it.
Well, they didn't even show her on the sand until she stood up. Right. They just said they said dig through the, and like it made it seem like they were in the water because all you saw were the friends' faces. You didn't see Sydney at all.
Right.
And they were like, dig. Okay, now stand up. And she like jumped up and they're like, yeah, you're ready to go in the water. And I was like,
ain't no way.
Wait a second. And then, of course, when she got in the water, she fell a bunch. And
what I thought was funny.
Sorry, she fell twice. And then she was like, not for me, dog.
The funny
not for
thing
me.
is, when she fell, the first time she's like paddling and like she won't stand up. And then she just like rolls off, and I'm like, yeah, that was direction a little bit for sure, but it was fine.
It was fine. It was fine.
Okay.
It was the water pushed her off the board before she could stand up. That's what
before
happened.
The water got to her.
Yes. Yes. But the
fine.
second time when she did try to stand up, she
did.
Like,
that looked a little bit more like legit, but the roll off was like, that was not you being pushed off.
No, that one was staged.
Yeah. But okay, so aside from the fact that I kept thinking this was Soul Surfer and you were confusing with Soul Surfer 2 apparently, I think it did stand up to the test of time because like it's not a bad movie. Yeah. There's nothing in it that you're like, yeah, that didn't age well.
Right.
There's nothing in it that's like irrelevant now.
Right.
So
like
it's kind of just
aside
exists.
from maybe Kona's boombox in the shop.
But even that, I just bought a VCR yesterday, so.
Why'd you buy a VCR?
Because I was at a thrift store and they had the original Star Wars trilogy for sale, and it was 99 cents for all three, and it was like the old school one that Mom and Dad had back in the day, like the very first. That's the very first way I ever watched Star Wars was on that tape, and they were selling it was 99 cents for the whole set, so I just bought it. And I was like, well, I don't have a VHS, so I went to the back and bought one for $20. So.
There you go.
It's a VHS DVD player combo thing.
Oh, okay.
It seems like the DVD player isn't quite working, but I'm not sure if I just bought the wrong cables. So I've ordered some more cables, and I'll be testing it to see if it still works.
Nice.
So anyway, I digress.
I digress. That was my bad idea.
I haven't used that in a long time. I think that's the first time I've said I digress in like 4 or 5 months. So T-shirt someday. Anyway, stood up to the test of time.
Yeah, I think it stood up.
Nothing in it bumps me. Nothing in it makes me feel weird. It's all like, well, there's that like, there was one scene that like was weird, but not.
Which one?
When she's talking to her stepmom right after she comes back from the beach the first time.
Oh, when she just gets out of the shower. Yeah.
I'm like, that's a little weird.
She's just like,
that wouldn't happen nowadays.
No, they would have him in a robe now.
Yeah, at least.
But it was a pretty long towel.
It was.
She wasn't revealing anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it was just still kind of, I thought it was kind of strange still.
Yeah.
Definitely not something I would be,
right.
It's not something you would see now.
It's not something you would see now. Yeah.
So it's just interesting. That was the only thing in the whole movie where I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, great movie. I enjoyed it. I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I'm not going to say great movie. Good movie.
Good movie. It was a good movie.
Which brings us to our rating out of 5.
Yes. That's hard.
I'm a little low on this one, if I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah.
How low?
I'm sitting at like 2.5 to 3
really?
On this one. Not because it's a bad movie, just because when we're
not
done with this,
as nostalgic.
Yeah, when we're done with this whole thing, and I'm like, ooh, I kind of want to watch a DCOM. That probably won't be one that comes up again, maybe ever, unless we decide to do a rewatch. But
I was gonna put it at 3.5.
So we round to 3.
3 would be,
which is pretty low. I think that's the lowest score any movie's ever gotten. Maybe one got 3 as well. I don't remember. I'll look, but
yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't
it's not
remember
a bad
all the movies we watched.
Like I'm not saying it was a bad movie. It's just not something that I think I'm going to.
I would rewatch
watch again,
but
that's not Disney Plus.
Alley Cat Strike is absolutely top for me.
Definitely,
I will watch that one over and over and over.
I think we gave that one a 6 out of 5.
Yes.
So
yeah, I was trying to give it a 10 out of 5.
I actually almost watched it over the break.
Yeah, that Alley Cat Strike and any of the Lawrence brothers movies.
Yeah,
I will rewatch. I don't care how long it's been or how old they are. I will always love them.
Yeah. Something I need to remember to put in the show notes at the end of these.
Mm-hmm.
He's the next movie.
Yes.
Because I didn't do it. Oh, I actually knew that. I mentally said that in my head and I knew it, but it's fine. Yeah. Okay. That's my piece.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
So it's like in the middle. I feel like 13th year was lower. I want to say 13th year was
13th year I think was 2.5.
I don't think it was that
3.5?
I want to say it was 3 or 3.5.
Okay.
But it was on the lower one.
It was in the same area.
Yeah. Just because it
wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
Yeah. So, that being said, guys, that wraps up the Rip Girls rewatch. Next week, because this is weekly now, Sunday nights at 6:45 ish.
Roughly. I do have shows not the next.
Oh, how late will you be in town from that?
I don't know.
Oh.
So Sundays are matinees, and they start at 2, or Sundays start at 2:30.
Okay. So
if it's 2-hour show, I'd be done at 4:30.
And so probably still be able to do 6:45.
Yeah. The second weekend of shows, though, we also have strike afterwards.
Okay.
And that could take me later. But
so between 6:45 and 7:45.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before 8 o'clock.
Around 7:45.
Yeah. Maybe maybe we can like do,
but it's just
like
that one.
I can go like live on Instagram or something when you kind of have an idea of when you're coming, and I'll let them know so they can get prepared. Sure. But if you want to be prepared for next week's episode, tonight, tomorrow, sometime before next Sunday, go on Disney Plus. You're going to go into the search functions. Once you're in search functions, you're going to click where it says all collections. Once you're in all collections, scroll down to Disney. You'll then scroll over to the left to the, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The sixth column is Disney Channel Original Movie Collection. We are in the 2000s. So right now you can scroll all the way to the end of 2000s. And there you will find Miracle in Lane 2, which is starring Frankie Muniz. Oh. And I'm really excited for that one. I don't remember watching this one either. I don't remember that one. But I know remember I've watched that it's something to do with Soapbox Derby.
Yes. I remember watching it, but I don't remember much about it.
Yeah. Well,
I remember Frankie Muniz is in it.
I remember it's Frankie Muniz and it's Soapbox. And he wins.
And he wins. Like,
there's some miracle in Lane 2.
Yes.
Find out with us what happens in Miracle in Lane 2 next Sunday.
I believe he's in a wheelchair, and that's the miracle.
Yes, I think you're right, actually. So, and then, of course, Adriana and I will be live on Friday night for some more Disney trivia. And, that's Friday at, we go live at 7:30.
7:30.
We go live at 7:30 for our Disney trivia, and I think Mom and I are actually recording one of our standalone episodes tomorrow, and that will come out for you guys. That'll be live on not live on YouTube. That won't be live. Sorry,
that one's
not live stream, but that will be published on YouTube and our lovely podcast platforms. Couldn't think of the word there. That'll be posted on our podcast platforms, and it'll come out at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Wednesday. So you'll get a podcast from us on Wednesday this week. You'll get a podcast from us on Saturday morning this week, and I guess technically Monday morning because this will be out on Monday morning.
Out on Monday morning.
So, lots of stuff going on this week. I'm really excited about how easy this is becoming and how I talked about this with Adriana last week. When we're done here, we're done here.
We're done here.
And
this is the editing.
It's exactly. It's done.
It's
all I have to do is take it from here and cut out the countdown. And put it on Spotify, and it goes out to all my podcast platforms. So it's a great time. The one with Mom's a little bit different. It's a little bit trickier. Do you have anything you want to say for a couple of seconds while I fix something I realized I forgot to do?
This was a fun time. I'm not used to live stream, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm super excited that it will only take us 2 years, roughly, to get through the rest of the DCOMs. If we do once a week, 52 weeks in a year. That equals 104, so it'll take us a little over 2 years. I'm no mathematician. It kept me up all night thinking about this. I was like, if we do it once a week for 2 years, that gets us 104 movies in 2 years, and then we'll be at 124 movies. 114. See,
well,
math.
It's fine.
So I hope that filled enough time.
It did. It filled perfect amount of time. We're squared away now. So, assuming I did it correctly anyway. It's lots of stuff going on this week, guys. We are excited for it. We hope you're excited for it. And until next time, guys, let the wonder take hold.